Our top story here at 5:30 this afternoon.
We will bring it to you just as soon as it does happen.
Don't touch that dial. It's going to be some night. From all the people at KNBC News.
Right now we're trying to basically gather some more information, trying to figure out where this has been centered.
Have been big, widespread areas without electricity.
I ask the American people to remember the people of Los Angeles County in their thoughts and prayers today.
Seems like it was so long ago. Funny thing, my brother remembers the date too. It was my brother's birthday. We had a couple of the managers who had gone to Vegas for the weekend and weren't back by Monday morning, which is when this happened. And I remember Robert Henry on the desk freaking out because he's working the overnight shift and this is happening at 4:30 in the morning. And he calls the managers out there and says, this is the big one, you gotta get back, you gotta get back. And of course they, like I, were so far away, they didn't quite comprehend what he was experiencing. So the managers had to come racing back because everybody was needed at that point.
Give me a pen.
You tell we got monitors knocked off
Okay.
right in the newsroom.
4:30. I can't tell if we're on the air or not.
I remember reporter Joe Rico happened to be there in the morning. He was in front of the newsroom camera and managed to get on the air.
Okay, we've got another aftershock coming.
And tell what he could.
Ready to go. I don't hear any audio. Okay, we're here in the Channel 4 newsroom as you folks. There's no surprise. For any folks this morning, we've been hit with a major earthquake. Right now we're trying to basically gather some more information, trying to figure out where this has been centered. I'm not sure if we can take a look around that right now, but half the newsroom behind me has been disheveled. A lot of television monitors knocked off the shelves. Basically a lot of dust kicking around here. We're trying to figure out again where this earthquake has been centered. It hit at about 4:34 this morning. A very sharp jolt, a very long, a very rolling type of motion right now. Again, I'm not sure if we have any more information coming in right now. Right now everybody seems to be scrambling. We're trying to figure out again where this was centered.
I was living in Laguna Niguel. But it shook us, and it shook us enough for me to jump out of bed and, with my motherly instinct, run directly to my daughter's room to make sure she was okay in her crib. She was 6 months old. I knew it was bad, I knew it was big, obviously didn't know where. So the next thing I did was hop in the shower because I knew I'd be going to work. I think I called the assignment desk to see what they wanted us to do in Orange County. They said, just get together and start looking for damage. And that was a very difficult time because it was dark.
It's very dark out there because a lot of electricity has been lost around Southern California. Good morning to you. We've had another one of those earthquakes. Joe's been telling you about it.
We didn't know what we were looking for. We were cruising around, and about the only thing we could find was the Big A at Anaheim Stadium had tilted. Not a lot, but enough for us to realize something was wrong there, with no clue, no idea how bad things were 80 miles away.
15 people found dead in the collapse of a single Northridge Meadows apartment complex.
This is all the first floor underneath here. This is the second floor right here.
My mother's 70 miles from me, living in Sherman Oaks. She called me. And this was an era of landlines. There were no cell phones. You weren't going to get a text.
Due to the earthquake in the area you are calling, your call cannot be completed at this time. Please try your call later.
She was able to call me, and she was in tears and fearful and telling me that things had fallen off her bedroom wall, off the shelves, that the refrigerator had toppled over. And my first reaction, because I wasn't experiencing any of this, was, Mom, you're exaggerating. Come on, it couldn't be that bad. Again, clueless, all those miles away, right?
Good aftershock, yes now.
This is the 5 freeway that has split in 4 different locations.
And it was one of those moments where you're not computing what's going on.
I ask the American people to remember the people of Los Angeles County in their thoughts and prayers today.
Now keep in mind, you had to turn on the television in 1994 to get your information, or the radio.
Good evening from the San Fernando Valley, where night is beginning to settle in after what has been a very long day. All of Southern California still is reeling from that major earthquake that struck at 4:30 Pacific time this morning in Northridge in the San Fernando Valley, a heavily populated area just northwest of downtown Los Angeles.
Our station was also in the middle of all of this and falling apart, and they were trying to get on TV.
There was nowhere to run, there's no place to hide. You see things falling off, and for the first time, as I was running through the hallways from the editing base out here into the newsroom, there was actual dust coming down from the ceiling.
From the plaster.
Hello, is anybody there?
We weren't able to gather information as quickly then as we do now, so there was a lot of tap dancing, a lot of fear.
Everything started burning down. Everything is burned.
A lot of let's just calm people down.
You're there, we're here. We will try to keep you up to date with continuing live coverage of exactly what's going on.
Because that really was what we thought our job would be at that time. And I got to tell you, it was surreal to see this epicenter of destruction.
Take a look at the street here and how it's buckled.
It was not that way, even 40 miles from where we ended up doing our first live shot. Again, this was an era of brick-sized cell phones, and those weren't working because towers were down. So the only way we could communicate with the assignment desk was a two-way radio.
1646 hours, special attention South County units.
We were all on that two-way radio. It was 2 tin cans and a string. And we had to get crews in different areas. We had to connect with the assignment desk. The assignment desk at least was in-house and somehow got us patched into the studio. As we were trying to get our microwave signals in, there was no capability of going live unless you had that mast up in the air. So all those things were coming into play.
The ceiling fell down, my kitchen is totally destroyed.
On top of seeing what people were going through, losing their homes and their lives. I think the first live shot I did was in Studio City.
This picture from Studio City this morning, where a man's home, his house of 30 years, was destroyed.
And we just pulled up and realized there should have been a house at street level, and there was no house.
It's unbelievable to see this, you know, that car just teetering over what was once his home. Let's see if Vikki Vargas is there. Vikki?
And the driveway was tilted, and as I recall, there was a car that was angled over it, and it was such an horrific event on such a wide scale. No one hesitated telling you their story.
This was your home. It happened right away at 4:30 this morning. No warning. Everything literally fell on top of you. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
How did you manage to get out?
To be honest, miracle. That's what I was just telling my friend. You get some extra strength in your cell to get out. Both of us were bleeding. I was holding my wife. Come answer her before fire starts. And I don't know.
30 years in the same home. You've been through the Sylmar earthquake. Does this even compare to that?
No, no way.
And each one was different and heartfelt and painful, really painful.
This white piece, the beam wood ceiling, was the ceiling of your home.
Correct, that's the ceiling.
I think I put my working cap on first. I went to work.
We'll probably see a lot of fire trucks, a lot of emergency services patrolling.
I did what was needed, and then I realized my mother lives near here. When we break down, I need to go see her. So she was in Sherman Oaks in a 3-story condominium. The top 2 floors fell on the bottom. She lived on the 3rd floor. But on the bottom was the underground garage, and no one could get out. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't exaggerating. She was not exaggerating. She wants to move out and save whatever she can, because she can't live there, right? And I'll never forget a crew coming in, picking up that refrigerator and taking it down those flights of stairs. This wasn't a moving crew. These were people who were just trying to help her get out, or taking things they thought were valuable that she said, just take them.
Now, oops, hang on one second. This is a very sharp aftershock that just hit us right now.
So keep in mind, this was in the San Fernando Valley. The station was in Burbank. Most people lived in the San Fernando Valley who worked at NBC. So we were all affected in some way.
This is your home. You've got something like 8 families here now.
Yes, we do.
This has become a block party. Does it help to have everyone here together?
It really does. It's nice to have the family support and all being together, and we're all healthy and alive, so we're making the best of a bad situation.
People needed to be together because hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions, were suffering through this. It was one of those bizarre, cohesive moments brought about by a tragedy. And this was enormous. Billions of dollars in damage.
How are you able to support each other? I know everybody's been bringing in food and trying to get by that way.
Bringing in food and just being together and just, I don't know, it's just like talking about it and expressing your feelings of what happened to you and what happened to you.
It's going to be a very difficult few weeks for them as they try to come through the immediate dangers, and there are still some immediate dangers there, and then the aftermath.
It was not an overnight reversal of fortune in any way. A couple of the scenes I remember as we continued in the days to come, people worried about not being able to have gas in their cars. So there were long lines to buy gas. And it wasn't just that.
Yeah, thank you. No, excuse us.
People were buying food, whatever they could get their hands on. There was that kind of panic buying. You know, very different from the pandemic, because you didn't know what was coming or wasn't.
We don't have food at home, only some food right here.
I remember people gathering because they didn't have homes to be in, so they would go to parks and just camp, sit in their cars, not know what to do. I mean, Lord willing, we'll never see that again.
That's my car.
I just think if you weren't there, you couldn't comprehend the magnitude of what it was. And if you watch all of us in the beginning, the first couple of days, I think we had our reporter faces on because we were shell-shocked. We were shell-shocked of what we were seeing, and we went into autopilot. But when you step back and look at the magnitude of what happened, overwhelming, absolutely overwhelming.
It was a strong jolt, unlike any I've ever felt.
Personally, there was one silver lining in all of this. My mother lost her home. So she moved in with us for 6 months. My daughter was 6 months old. She was kind of like a secondary babysitter, which was great to have her around. And she ended up moving to Orange County after that. She and my daughter are really, really close. And I think it's because of that beginning moment, those 6 months they spent together. And I'm grateful, oddly enough, for that.
The sense of teamwork here has been truly extraordinary.
I think it affected a lot of people in so many different ways. We learned about how buildings should be built. We knew, because we live in California, that it was always a possibility, and then it happened. And I tell you, so many years go by, you just think, no, never again. We're ready for that now. God forbid it ever happens again.
All the people that live in this North Hollywood area, right around Laurel Canyon, Victory, Van Owen, in that area, please stay in your homes. These were absolutely the most brazen gunmen that I've seen in this city in years.